And I've got Pallava Bakla, my colleague, with me here in the studio, someone who understands this more than anyone else. Pallava, while we've been talking through the morning in our special broadcast, talk to us now about the next steps from here on. You know, the blast-off has happened at 12:01 p.m. today from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. What next now? Talk to us about the 28-hour crucial journey. What is it that we are now looking forward to?
Well, I learn at every stage. Yes, we report space very actively here at NDTV, but it's a learning at every stage. SpaceX human space flights, we have never reported earlier, so it's a learning at every stage. Yes, the liftoff successfully happened at 1 minute past 12, which is 1 minute past noon for India. And now Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla becomes the second Indian to go into space. We've had people of Indian origin, but now to have an Indian citizen in space is a very proud moment. Currently, the Crew Dragon, which they have named Grace, and this crew got to name the Dragon because it was a spanking new Dragon, which is the capsule, and they have named it Grace. And accompanying them is another small little member, a baby swan called Joy, the zero gravity indicator. So Joy, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, astronaut Peggy Whitson, a Hungarian and a Polish astronaut, are currently cruising around Earth at about 400 kilometers above the Earth, speeding at over 28,000 kilometers an hour. It is a huge velocity. They will dock with the International Space Station, but tomorrow, if all goes well, by about 4:30 p.m. India time. So it is a 28-hour journey. Right now, the ascent phase is over. They are in the quiet phase of the space travel. So they would have taken off their suits, which is called doffing of the suits. And Group Captain Shukla would have had his first meal in space in zero gravity or near zero gravity, which people call microgravity. It's not easy to eat in space. He would have had his first taste. Gee.
Indeed, absolutely. And I was going to ask you that, you know, these meals are very carefully curated, aren't they? Because everything needs to be very minutely taken care of in terms of what they eat, to how they remain there, in terms of fitness, all aspects, isn't it? Tell us more about all that, sir.
Sure. They carry very specially curated meals, and meals are such that they don't leave crumbs which can float around, because then they can go and contaminate the ship in which they are traveling or at the International Space Station. Normally, when they reach the International Space Station, the space station follows what is called the London time or the Greenwich Mean Time. So everything is fixed according to that. They would have their breakfast, they would have their lunch. Each one normally have their lunch separately, but the dinner is had in a group. There are already 7 astronauts on board the International Space Station, 3 cosmonauts and 4 astronauts, the difference being Russian and American. And the current commander of the space station is a Japanese astronaut. And when they dock at the International Space Station, docking is a very complex and carefully choreographed procedure. It takes more than 2 hours for the actual docking process to complete. See, both spacecrafts are traveling in the same plane, in the same orbit, at 28,000 kilometers per hour. Both have to come together, join, and the docking takes place. It's a very tricky process. The Crew Dragon is so configured that it can do an autonomous docking. But Group Captain Shukla is the mission pilot. So if things go off nominal or not correct, then he can pilot the docking. And we already have astronaut Peggy Whitson, who's a veteran and a legend of an astronaut from America, as the commander. So between them, they will do the docking. So now, after their meal, they would have 8 hours of rest. So Group Captain Shukla would get his first nap in space. So an interesting thing, first meal in space, because it happened around early morning America time, which would be, say, breakfast time in London. So it would be his lunch time in space. And then they would have a nap in space for 8 hours. And then there would be 3 possible events in which the crew will be able to speak to Earth. We do not know what the times would be and whether they would be possible or not. Axiom Space has announced that there would be 3 possibilities, but there are complexities because the connectivity has to be there and the astronauts have to be available, and they would be announced 15 minutes prior to each event. Hopefully, at least one of them, before they reach the International Space Station, we should be able to hear. And then when they reach the International Space Station and the docking happens, it will be an almost 2-hour process. Then they enter the International Space Station. And as Group Captain Shukla said, he's already in space with the Tiranga, and he will float into the International Space Station carrying the pride of India, with being the first Indian to go to the International Space Station.
Indeed, the first Indian to go to the International Space Station, carrying the hopes, aspirations and dreams of 1 billion plus people. And let me then quickly also welcome Mr. Arvind Paranjpe, who's the director of the Nehru Planetarium here at the Nehru Center, and Nalin Vikramasinghe, who is a Sri Lankan-born British astronomer and astrobiologist, into the broadcast. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us on this very special, very momentous day as we talk about the Axiom-4 mission, what it means for India's space journey going forward in terms of both learnings and also a roadmap. Let me start with you, Mr. Nalin, in terms of your first thoughts about the significance of this momentous day today.
Well, I think it's an important, hugely important day. And this is the first Indian astronaut in space. I think we should also remember that India has a very long history of achievements in space that go back to the sort of 500 AD of the common 500 years of the common era with Aryabhata, and the sun-centered heliocentric model of the solar system was entirely Aryabhata's, and it was 1,000 years after that Copernicus and Newton and so on took it over. So India has a long history of space exploration, in a sense. And in terms of ISRO, there have been so many very important events in the last sort of 50 years. And this is also the 50th year of the launching of an Indian satellite, isn't it? So I think there are very, very important markers that stand out here. And the first Indian in space, in the International Space Station, is immensely significant in continuing this great tradition of Indian space science.
All right. I'll get in Pallava also in the broadcast, and he has his thoughts as well. But let me just take a quick opening comment from Mr. Paranjpe as well, in terms of while we talk about the next phase, we're talking about the entire process of docking into the International Space Station. And how complex and challenging that process itself may be. But talk to us about the significance of Shubhanshu Shukla being the first Indian to be at the International Space Station.
You know, when you talked about this, I remember I go back in time in 1984 when we heard Rakesh Sharma going into the space. You see, these events, which we are so thankful to you for broadcasting it live, because as a child, as a student, I was listening to and I was hearing about Rakesh Sharma's space mission. And the same way, today, a lot of Indian and children across the world would be hearing and listening and probably joining this event. So it sort of inspires young students to see this space mission, people going, and particularly in India. So, I mean, you remember that even Kalpana Chawla, actually, when she saw that, and well, she was an American citizen, but she got inspired. So such events are really inspiring young children to take to either science or space science or any science for that matter. Because I heard it is said that one of the experiments which is involved in the at the space station is that yellow lentil, moong dal, which they are going to experiment over it and see how it sprouts in the space, because that information would be available later on for the new spacecraft or Gaganyatri mission that we are doing it. So there are many such things where, but I would say from my side, that is as an outreach officer connecting to general public, I would say that this is a fantastic mission. It was a beautiful launch, and that would inspire large number of people,
All right,
students,
Mr.
and college
Paranjpe,
students.
hold your thought there, sir. Hold your thought there, sir. I want to now quickly talk about and in fact pull out this very important message that's come in from India's first space hero in 1984, Rakesh Sharma, who's wishing Shubhanshu Shukla and other astronauts on this journey. Let's play that out first.
Wishing you all the very best. To the crew, Godspeed, and spend as much time as possible to look out of the window. Have a fun.
And I think that's the most important part as well, isn't it, Pallava, when Rakesh Sharma mentioned that look out of the window as much as you can, because those breathtaking shots, those breathtaking visuals we're not getting here. Our folks on Earth are not going to get any of those, are they?
When the schedule
Hamari
of an
Sundar Vasundhara
astronaut
Neele
at
Ranki,
the
I mean, it is
International
amazing.
Space Station is chalked out literally minute by minute. I'm told they normally have an 11-hour day, starting with wake up, ending with bedtime. And the only time they get some off time is after they have completed their jobs, and then they go, most of them head to the cupola, and the cupola is that 360-degree view window from the International Space Station, and it doesn't look up to the sky, it looks towards Earth. And Group Captain Shukla has told me that he would be documenting every part of his journey. So we should see some incredible pictures coming down after his mission is over. So it's a very, very busy, packed day every day for Group Captain Shukla. There are 60 experiments in all by the 4 astronauts, 7 India-specific experiments. In addition, there are 5 human experiments which are being done between NASA and ISRO as a collaboration. And there are at least 3 outreach events, one with a school and with Trivandrum, and the other with Lucknow, and possibly a event with a VIP. And I give you no credit for guessing who would that VIP be. And end of the day, it would be an incredible journey for Group Captain Shukla and Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma, when he spoke to me earlier, also had mentioned that please look out of the window, you will come back a changed man, Group Captain Shukla. Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma's life changed after his astronaut mission, and he said Group Captain Shukla's life will also change and his perspective may change. More importantly, Group Captain Shukla is only 39 years old. He is part of India's Gaganyatri program, which is still being nurtured very actively by the Indian Space Research Organization. And his contribution for India's Gaganyatri program would be very, very strong. And the foundational effect he would give to it would give India 2 decades of extra work. This is ISRO's style. They always choose a relatively young person. I don't know whether 39 we should call somebody young or old or whatever, but ISRO always chooses somebody who's relatively young so that they can contribute extensively for the development of India's mission. And Gaganyatri is a huge mission by India. Indeed, finally putting an Indian on the moon from Sriharikota, where the countdown will also be Indian. Today the countdown was American. Today I personally am looking forward to day when we have an Indian in space where the countdown is also Indian, and it would be a great moment. It was a great moment today also. I'm not discounting that, but that would be an even more greater moment for the country.
More symbolic for us. And I'm going to talk about the age factor that you mentioned, because I remember during this broadcast, we had some global experts and they had mentioned that how the age, as far as some of the NASA astronauts were concerned, were in mid-50s. But Shubhanshu Shukla is 39 years of age. I'm going to come back and talk more on that, but I want to reflect the information that you're seeing on your screens right now. Prime Minister Modi has put out a message on X platform. He said that we welcome the successful launch of the space mission carrying astronauts from India, Hungary, Poland and the US. The Indian astronaut group captain Shubhanshu Shukla is on way to become the first Indian to go to International Space Station. He carries with him the wishes, hopes and aspirations of 1.4 billion Indians. Wish him and other astronauts all the success. So President Murmu had earlier issued a congratulatory message, and those are wishes, best wishes coming in from Prime Minister Modi. Remember, this is a mission that's extremely critical and important for India for its space aspirations going forward. We're speaking about Gaganyatri, we're speaking about the kind of learnings that will come in from Axiom-4 mission and how that will pave India's future trajectory from here on. Before I get in, both Mr. Nalin as well as Arvind, Palwa, let me ask you this. When we talk about, this momentous occasion right now, we talk about this particular moment that is there in terms of India's space journey. How do you envisage the next 4, 5, 6, 10 years? Because beyond that is difficult to sort of envisage. But right now, if we take the immediate future from here on, what do you think would be the milestones to watch out for?
Well, the big milestone for India would be a Viksit Bharat. I may not be there for that, but yes, India would be a developed country, at least in space and atomic energy. The world considers India a highly developed country, and we have shown that repeatedly. But the roadmap for the Indian space program has been laid out fully and clearly by Prime Minister Narendra Modi till 2040. So next 7-8 years is already there. Absolutely. But till 2040, the roadmap has been laid. The government has given them the plan. The government has given them a budget. So the cabinet cleared it. 33,000 crore rupees have been approved by the government, it'll pave out like this. Human space flight, the first one is likely to happen in 2027, where an Indian will go from Sriharikota. First Indian space station by 2035, and then to put an Indian on the moon by 2040. So we have a clear roadmap. But in between, there are also missions which would be going back to the moon for a sample collection mission, a visit to Venus. I'm sure, Gauri, you would love that, a visit to Venus. It's a highly uninhabitable planet, but women love Venus. And Venus would be one revisit possibility for India. And then going to Mars. And in between, we have our own bread and butter missions of sending communication satellites, sending Earth observation satellites, and sending satellites which keep an eye on Pakistan so that they don't do nonsense like what they did, and also having missions to keep track of what is happening with our eastern neighbor and northern neighbor. So plenty of things lined up, and India's space ecosystem with those startups which are there is revving up. We have 2 startups ready to launch their first rockets into space in orbital flights, a Skyroot and Agnikul. So a lot happening on the space sector, and the government is supporting the Indian Space Research Organization and the space sector in a very big way, and there is a purpose for that. See, India offers a destination where you can do a lot of engineering at relatively low costs. So as the world is heading out to inhabit the moon, a lot of the engineering could well happen in India. So there is a purpose in all of this. It's not just all blue sky work. Hopefully the Indian space economy would grow by leaps and bounds and all contribute towards a Viksit Bharat. And I personally, I can't wait for 2047. I want a Viksit Bharat sooner than 2047.
Indeed. You mentioned some very important aspects of what this is likely to give a fresh impetus to. The private space economy being one of them. There are important startups that are in this field and are likely to get a fresh impetus with the Axiom 4 mission and the learnings that are likely to come. And we're going to touch upon these experiments as well in just a bit. But I want to get in a word from Nalin as well, which is that in terms of the private space economy, the space startups that are coming up in India, how much do you think they will get a boost with this mission, the success of this mission, whether it is in terms of funding, whether it is in terms of tech talent? That's another very important aspect. How much do you think they will get a fillip with this mission?
Well, I think they would get a huge fillip, and one of the important economic byproducts of space exploration will be space mining. Sort of going to space, going for meteorites and bringing them back, and looking to isolate the rare minerals that we have on the Earth. So there's plenty of that stuff in space, and so harvesting meteorites for these very precious metals that we need, I think that's one aspect of space exploration that's going to happen in the future. Another aspect, of course, is the confirmation of life existing in space. Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, collaborated with me and with the late Professor Nalika in 2001. And we sent, and ISRO, in fact, not we, sent balloons to the upper stratosphere, brought back material that contained weird bacteria and unknown on the Earth. And some of these were named after Aryabhata, one species named after Aryabhata, and so on. So I think the interstellar space, the space around the Earth, is by all expectations that we have, full of microorganisms, and trying to understand that biosphere that surrounds the Earth would be very important for the future. But on a more general level, I think we are at the crossroads, and the future of the world is essentially in space. Space exploration, as I said, space mining, study of life in space, and actually landing on planets like Mars or satellites like the Moon are going to be the future of the Indian Space Research Organization, I think.
All right. Okay, I want to now ask, and something that I'm sure a lot of viewers would also like to know, that when you talk about those 60 experiments, when you talk about those 7 experiments specifically for India and the 5 that ISRO and NASA will do together, what exactly are those experiments? What are we really looking in terms of our key findings here? And Pallava sir, take us through, and our viewers, in terms of what is the kind of experiments, first the India-centric 7 experiments that have been curated. What are these? What are we expected to identify and find from these experiments?
Survival in space of organisms, including large organisms like ourselves, I think that's very important to study.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And
I'll come to you, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Vikramasinghe, I'll come to you. Yes, Pallav sir.
See, this is the first time India would be doing specific biology experiments in space at the International Space Station. So these are, as I would continue to call them, the first baby steps. Some of the experiments are fairly basic, but they have great impact for India's own Gaganyatri program. They are for biofarming. They are also for understanding what happens to muscles when you go into microgravity. There's one experiment on what happens to your eyes in microgravity. So simple experiments, but they can have a lasting impact. But more importantly, our Indian scientists will get a handle of how to do experiments in microgravity. And it's not easy. It's easier said than done to do experiments just like sprouting moong dal and methi in space. But to do that, there is a lot of procedure which goes in, because NASA doesn't allow anything and everything to go to the International Space Station. So it's a lot of learning for these 7 principal investigators of India who are conducting these experiments. These 7 NASA ISRO experiments are human biology experiments for which the details have not been revealed and we have no idea what they are. But I'm hoping they would be to understand how the Indian person behaves in space, because there is very little data the world has about Indians in space. The more data we get about humans in space, the better it is. The experiments which go on at the International Space Station are extremely sophisticated.
Right.
For 25 years, the space station has been inhabited by Americans, and some of the experiments they have done are very, very complex and detailed. For us, it's a beginning. Let's look at that as a beginning, and scientists are getting their hands wet. So we may get some great results. Remember Chandrayaan-1, everybody was laughing that India is going to the moon in 2008 when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon in 1969.
Yes.
But it was India's Chandrayaan which found water molecule presence on the moon and changed the global understanding of the moon. So let us hope something will emerge from it. More importantly, as we go ahead with our Gaganyaan program, these 7 scientists will mature and do incredible work for India, because we need all that experience on board as we proceed ahead with our Gaganyaan program.
Absolutely, sir. In fact, let's get in another interesting voice on the broadcast. We have Mr. Dalip Tahil, who's joining us. He essayed the role of a NASA scientist in Mission Mangal. He joins us on the broadcast as well. Mr. Tahil, your thoughts on seeing real-life heroes? These are real-life scientists and astronauts. And how does it feel to see this mission take off, those breathtaking visuals, especially for someone who essayed the role of a scientist and an astronaut a couple of years back?
Well, very good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for having me on your program with such a distinguished panel of such a distinct gentlemen on the panel who are, the scientists and the people who know much more about the experiments that going to. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, Mission Mangal, the film, although I did play a scientist in it, but that was strictly for the movies. What I saw today was the real thing, the actual, the kind of the stress was palpable on the families, the situation on all of us while we watched the launch. So that was very special and a huge occasion, and a big, big congratulations to ISRO and to the country, India, for this monumental achievement in putting Group Captain Shukla into this mission, of which he's the pilot. That's it's absolutely wonderful to see it. And I, like everyone else, although I worked in the studio in Mission Control in Mission Mangal, but I can promise you that the feeling today was completely and utterly so real that it was nothing like the movie. Having said that, the other point of the thing for me is that it is very interesting to note that there are the crew comprises of people from all different parts of the globe. I mean, there's an Indian, there's an American, I believe there's a Hungarian. I think this message is very, very important in today's war-torn world, and with all the conflict that is going on in the world, to understand that we have to come together in harmony and combine our goodwill and resources for the greater good of mankind. I hope this message resonates to parts where we understand that it's only the coming together of different different nationalities, and that will sort of be better for the universe and better for human beings. But all said and done, it's a momentous occasion.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, it is a momentous occasion. And you mentioned an interesting fact that the 4 astronauts, American, Indian, Hungarian, and Polish, at a time when there is such a divided world. Well, the International Space Station where this will be docking is operated by 15 countries together. So when it comes to space, humanity is together, isn't it? And Mr. Tahil, then I want to ask you, as an actor who sees visuals to be able to prepare for roles, who sees such instances, that's how you sort of prepare for roles, I would assume. So how important has today's momentous occasion and the visuals that came in today?
Well, I mean, as much as you're giving me the importance of thinking that I'll prepare for a role. I mean, I can prepare for a role which gives me a lot of visual insights into it, but I don't think I'll ever be ready to actually be an astronaut and to go into a mission like this, which is a totally different ball game. It is amazing amount of courage and training and the kind of time that has been invested in these individuals to come to this level and to pilot a mission like this. I can only portray it on the screen if I
Of
do
course.
get the opportunity.
I meant just that role of an astronaut in a movie.
Yeah, well, now,
not of course.
I'm already imagining that I'm piloting this mission all the way to the docking station, but that's something completely different. That as an actor, I do imagine and visualize and fantasize really. But it was remarkable. The liftoff, the liftoff was absolutely mesmerizing to see it live and to see the rockets come into action, and the whole thing was just the countdown. It was absolutely mesmerizing, and जैसे बोलते हिंदी में तो रोंगटे खड़े हो गए, and I could just see the expression and the feelings that were there in the family and the people watching from the family. So I really wish this mission all success. I hope they all come back safe and with all the experiments in place, which the gentleman before me mentioned, which are very, very important to the general growth and the well-being and the greater good of mankind.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Dilip Tahil, thanks much for speaking to us. You're right, rongte वाकई खड़े हो गए. Not just you, but all people who are watching this, 1.4 billion people whose aspirations and dreams Shubhanshu Shukla is carrying on his shoulders with that Tiranga. And Mr. Nalin Vikramasinghe, thank you so much for speaking to us on this very big story. And in fact, let me also thank Mr. Pallava Bagla, our in-house science editor, someone, as I say, who knows this much better than anyone else in NDTV put together. Thank you so much, sir, for your insight and thoughts.
Our team is very good. It's the team which makes the difference. Individuals like you and me are the face, but it's that massive team behind us which makes sure that we are able to perform to perfection and give our viewers the very best.
And the perfect liftoff.
Perfect liftoff was a different team delivered.
Of course.
But to be able to communicate that and communicate that over this long delays from May 29th onwards, it's been literally 4, 5, 6 months of relentless coverage which we have been able to do. And you and I are the faces, but there's a massive team behind us which makes sure that Gauri and Pallav and Vishnu and Shiv and Rahul and all of us give our very best, because India deserves nothing but the best. And this is our cosmic leap.
Indeed.
So we have to be there to showcase it to India.
Absolutely, sir. Very well put. And on that note, viewers, we're going to slip into a very short break, come back with a quick check of some of the other big stories that are happening around the world and in India. Stay with us.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and lift Stage 1 throttle.
Stage 2, in preparation for second engine start 1.
Benefit of every human, everywhere. मुझे साथ में करना है कि मुझे पता है कि ओपन लगाऊंगा जय हिंद जय भारत। आइए हम सब मिलकर भारत की ह्यूमन स्पेस प्रोग्राम की जर्नी की शुरुआत करें। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद जय भारत।